Alrighty, so it's the day after the semi-final matchup of the Leeds Cup happened, and we now know the matchup for the final of this year's edition of the Leeds Cup. And it turns out the final will be very similar to what we saw before because it's basically the MLS Cup final. It's going to be a rematch. It's LAFC versus the Columbus Crew, and obviously, I know there's going to be people that are not going to be happy with this, especially with the way that this feels a little bit similar to when we used to have Seattle versus Toronto being an MLS Cup almost every single year. I mean, we kind of had a trilogy of this, and that obviously now it seems like we're building toward that with LAFC versus Columbus in the MLS Cup final, now having it in the Leeds Cup final, and I'm pretty sure not many people would like the fact that they want to see LAFC versus Columbus for this year's MLS Cup final as well, because if there's one thing in terms of the general MLS fans or just the general fans in a way, they don't want to see the same matchup for a big final, and especially with the way that the Leeds Cup, the reputation, and I'm pretty sure the ratings has really started to gone down ever since these Liga MX team exit this tournament. Yeah, it doesn't really help the fact that the final is gonna be a matchup we already saw in MLS Cup a couple of months ago. But that being said, obviously this is a good chance, at least for both of these teams, for Columbus not only getting over LAFC again in the Cup final, but certainly for LAFC to get some revenge as well. But before we obviously talk about that, we got to talk about how we got to that point, because if you thought that there was going to be a semifinal matchup or any semifinal match that is going to be close and it's going to be very interesting right at the end, well, unfortunately, you're out of luck because both of these games were not close whatsoever. This one was probably the closest one between Columbus versus the Philadelphia Union, and unfortunately for the Union, the narrative continues. This is a team that simply just cannot get over the hump in terms of these big game kind of thing. And as I mentioned before, this feels like it's the last chance for this current core that they are going to have a shot in terms of winning a trophy in a cup final. And they had a chance to do so because coming into this game, Jim Curran is actually undefeated against Wilfred Nancy Columbus team. That streak unfortunately come to an end in this one. In the first half, obviously lots of empty seats for a semifinal game, and I'm not surprised because again, this has been a problem when it comes to these Leeds Cup games, especially deeper into this tournament, where you're thinking, how in the world is there are more empty seats than we're seeing in the group stage? Well, first of all, these tickets are distributed on short notice, and also these tickets are not included in terms of the season ticket holder package. The reason why the attendance was so good early on isn't just because of Liga MX team facing against MLS team, but those games actually included in the package. So obviously, if you're a season ticket holder for the club, you could just attend those games pretty much for free. But if you decided to attend a couple more games, I think each of these teams have like their Leads Cup opt in and opt out kind of thing. If you opt in into it, you get these games for free, but you have to pay extra as a resort. But if you opt out of it, you're not going to have to pay any money whatsoever, and you just get that package that comes with the season ticket in terms of that bonus game in the Leagues Cup, which usually happen in the group stage. Now, that being said, I thought the Crew were definitely on the front foot. They immediately pressed for the opener, and that was a little bit different compared to the last two knockout game. The last two knockout game, they were kind of on the back foot a little bit, especially being down in the last two game. But knowing that Wilfred Nancy doesn't want a repeat of that, he immediately want his team to be on the front foot and trying to play Columbus Crew soccer, which is a team that always will be on the front foot, always will just keep attacking to the depth of their opponent. But in the fourth minute, Rossi would puts it wide in the near post before Cucho actually goes on his bike there and unable to connect to that one. But just 1 minute later, Rossi would score. He scored here to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. Originally, Blake did make a save here, but he parried right into the path of Diego Rossi in the back post. Yeah, Rossi's not gonna miss that. But yeah, that gives the Crew a 1-0 lead. Uru did look to answer, but he was denied by Schulte. The possession was 68-32 for Columbus up to this point. Unsurprisingly, they were dominating possession. The Union, they looked like they were trying to be pragmatic early in this game, and I guess that kind of makes sense because of the way that know that playing a game where the Union are gonna press this Columbus team, it's not gonna really quite worked out so well. But when they do decide to press this Crew team, it actually worked out pretty well. So I was kind of surprised the fact that they didn't do that more often. And again, I get it that you're the road team. But again, it was a little bit too pragmatic in my opinion of how the Union was doing. Almost similar to what we saw what Inter Miami, of course, was doing, being pragmatic in the second half, and it basically didn't work out. Arvston then missed wide after just a lightning counterattack there from the Crew, but then the 32nd minute, the Union equalized. It's Daniel Gas that ties the game up at one apiece, and this is the third game in a row where the Crew have given up a goal because of a bad turnover. That is going to be something that is going to drive Wilfred Nancy crazy. And I know he have said before that he doesn't mind in terms of these individual mistakes, but I do think that eventually there's got to be some concern. You got to say with these individual mistakes that has costing them in terms of goals and so forth. Because right now, while they of course got away with these individual mistakes and they don't get burned at the end of the day, that is something that they can't just keep doing and keep ignoring. And again, just a bad turnover there for the Crew, and once again led to a goal and led to the tying goal up to this point. But after that goal really could completely change the momentum. So as the cliche say, goal basically changed game. It definitely changed the progression in terms of the fact that the Union were looking like the one that started getting more possession, and the Crew now they look like they were the one that was being pragmatic and are almost kind of a little stunned after the fact that they gave up the equalizer. Sullivan would hit it right to Schulte before there was a shout for a handball for Columbus that was not given. But then right on the stroke of halftime and kind of against the run of play a little bit, Diego Rossi would score from Ramirez to make it 2-0 in favor, or 2-1 in favor of Columbus. I'm sorry. And again, Diego Rossi continued to be that big game player. You know that when you have like a big game like this, he's always going to show up. He did it in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. He did it even during his time with LAFC, and he's doing it again in this one, getting two more goals, and also now being at the top of the Golden Boot race. And I don't think he's going to lose that if unless of course if Denis Bouanga of course score a couple more goals to overtake that spot in the final, that is. But yeah, that made it 2-1 in favor of Columbus, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. In the second half, Sullivan would puts it wide from close. The ref was then told he really sucked because again, just a reminder that referees in this competition are not the best at times, so the fans got to remind the referee that yeah he really suck at doing his job in this competition. But in the 52nd minute, Sullivan had a header that was deflected and wide. I thought the Union started well, at least in the beginning part of the second half, as they were looking for the equalizer. But then this is where the backbreaker happened, as in the 53rd minute, Cucho Hernandez would score to make it 3-1 in favor of Columbus. Originally, Blake with an absolute robbery of Cucho there, but unfortunately, he got his own rebound there. Blake just could not quite cover that up before Cucho tapped it in on the rebound, and yeah, that of course made it 3-1 in favor of Columbus. It's also terrible defending there from the Union. I mean, you cannot let Cucho Hernandez wide open in the box, and it's almost kind of a miracle that Blake actually make that save here, but very unlucky that just it goes right back into the path of Cucho. And yeah, again, that was really a backbreaker because after that, the Crew pretty much took over this game. Blake then denied Rossi from close range. The Union were all over the place at the back. This looked like a team, as what we saw in the beginning of the season, where at the back, defensively, this has been a problem for the Union. They have gone better ever since Andre Blake is back, but this looked like they were going back to their old habit in this game, where they were just all over the place at the back, leaving Crew player wide open in the box. Ramirez almost made it 4-1, but he missed a sitter in the back post. And really, as the time winds down, the Crew, they were looking like they were in control. The Union not only looked like they were completely deflated, but it feels like it's here we go again. This has been the thing that has happened pretty much every single year, and really in every big game with this core that they have. They just simply cannot get over the hump, and that has to be a helpless feeling. And I'm pretty sure these players know it because the narrative of coming short is started to continue. Schulte then denied Adanaran from close range before he denied Shumpos. Or actually, I'm sorry, it's Blake, the one that denied Campos from close range. But yeah, in the end, Columbus, they're moving on into the final, and the final is going to be taking place at Lower.com Field. So for the second time in just 7 months, we're going to have another final at Lower.com Field. There's been a lot of big games that's happened in that stadium. They're going to get another one soon. Shots in this one: 14 shots for the 10 that the Union has, 7 shots on goal for the 5 that the Union has. Both teams had 2 shots off target. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession the Union has in this game. And again, the Union, just like last year when they come up short, now that they have to settle for the consolation prize of getting third place and also getting the CONCACAF Champions Cup spot. I mean, I know that's obviously important. That's something that a lot of these teams are playing for in these Leagues Cup, getting those valuable CONCACAF Champions Cup position. But still, this has to be very deflated if you're Jim Curran and this team. They just simply can't get over the hump, and this is why I said this offseason, I will not be surprised if this core is going to be dismantled. We already saw it with Jose Martinez, maybe the first domino to fall in terms of this core, because as good as this core has been in the regular season and able to get this team deep into tournament, they just cannot get over the hump. And I think it's get to the point where maybe there has to be a change, or maybe a retool, or maybe even a rebuild that is going on, because if you're stuck with the same core that just can't get it get it done over and over again. You know that's that old saying of the definition of insanity. That's what the Union basically have been doing. It's been a definition of insanity with this current court, just cannot get over the hump. And again, I will not be surprised that they would maybe looking to retool or rebuild this offseason, no matter how they of course would, unless of course if they finally can get over the hump of winning MLS Cup this year. But that's even a long shot because they're not even in the playoffs right now. I mean, they're in a good battle though or a good spot to make it to the playoffs. But again, if they do make it to the playoffs, I just don't give them a lot of odds in terms of making far. And even if they do make it far, then the narrative could come back to haunt them again, where they just cannot get over the hump in terms of the current core that they have. But for Columbus, a very professional performance, probably the easiest performance that they have so far, at least in the last 2 games where they had to come from behind to win. They don't have to do that in this one. They walked away with an easy 3-1 win to the final. And of course, as I said, they are going to be playing against LAFC in the rematch of MLS Cup in the Leeds Cup final. Because for LAFC coming into this game, obviously, I know Colorado has had an incredible Cinderella run. You could argue they had a similar run to Nashville, probably even more impressive than what Nashville run did in terms of making it to the final. But as the old saying goes, the Cinderella story always strike midnight. Usually those feel good Cinderella story doesn't always ends with a team raising the trophy at the end of the game. And yeah, the clock struck midnight for Colorado in this one. They just got absolutely thumped by a much superior team that is LAFC. Now, in the first half, there was a lot of empty seats as well for this semifinal, though it did fill up as the game goes along. So maybe that's kind of the late arrival crowd in this game that showed up. It will also be interesting to see how the final is going to be. I'm interested to see whether we're going to see some empty seats in the final as well, because so far all these games that is played at Lower.com feel in terms of these these game Leeds Cup game, they have not been sold out and haven't even come close in terms of being sold out. So I'm interested to see whether or not if the stadium is going to be filled. It's probably not going to be like what we saw last year, where yes, last year Leeds Cup final it was filled to the brink at Geodis Park, but that was because it was Nashville versus Inter Miami. The Messi hype, of course, was reaching its conclusion in terms of this Hollywood story. So obviously you knew that there was going to be a big crowd in terms of that one. But I don't know about this one though. Will we see maybe a big crowd for the Columbus versus LAFC game? I mean, I'm assuming it is, because at the end of the day, as much as we'll talk about in terms of the good and the bad, and especially the ugly part of this Leeds Cup tournament after this tournament is over, it is still a final. It is a trophy for both of these teams, of course, to win. And not to mention a Club World Cup spot is also up for grabs in that game as well. But in the third minute, Stefan would deny Bawanga, but Kamara gets the rebound, and he was somehow denied by Stefan there. So Zach Stefan has been big in this Leeds Cup tournament, maybe even single-handedly playing himself back into the U.S. men's national team sensation with his performance that he has so far in this Leeds Cup, but obviously, as we know, he just couldn't quite keep that incredible form into this game as well. Chanel would then puts it wide from long range. LAFC was already on the front foot. They were pressing early for the opener. Kamara then sliced it wide from close range. There was a shout for a handball for the Rapids not given. And then Bawanga looked like it gives LAFC a 1-0 lead. Problem was the flag did not agree with him, so the goal was disallowed for offside. But there was no doubt the transition for LAFC was once again deadly. That's been their bread and butter this Leeds Cup. LAFC has probably become the most deadliest team in the transition out of any of these Leeds Cup or Leeds Cup team, and this is why this is going to be interesting in their matchup against Columbus, where Columbus is a team that's known for possession, and LAFC a team that is happy to let you have the possession so we can counter against you. It'll be interesting to see whether how that matchup is going to be. There's no doubt that I don't think it's going to be like 5-1 that we saw a couple of weeks heading into that MLS break that Columbus just absolutely dominate LAFC in that one. I think that was just kind of an outlier game. I do think that it's going to be a very fascinating matchup in that rematch of the MLS Cup in the Leeds Cup final. But as I said, the transition was deadly for LAFC. That's bad news for the Rapids, who again they were trying to do what they have been doing throughout this tournament, which is kind of sit deep and then hope for those magical moments that they've been getting time and time again in this tournament. Bassett then puts it wide from long range as that was the Rapids' first shots. The shots were actually four apiece, which definitely didn't felt like it because I thought LAFC looked like they were in control and with a better team. Navarro then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. I thought the Rapids would start to get more possession, but again, that's not really something that Chris Armas want to see because this is a team that so far throughout this tournament they haven't had a lot of possession. They're okay of soaking pressure, and not to mention that just plays right into the hands of LAFC, knowing that they love to have team to have possession so they can get those dangerous transitional attack. Bogusz then puts one into the stands before Ronan hits one right to Lloris, but then in the 42nd minute, LAFC took the lead. It's Mateus Bogusz. He scored for Morelos to give LAFC a 1-0 lead, and then not long after, Kai Kamara, the ageless wonder, continued the goal scoring prowess. He scored from Holland's head to make it 2-0 in favor of LAFC. Just bunch of ball watching defending there from the Rapids. The Rapids has defended very well throughout this tournament. That was not one of those moments, and yeah, just like that, it's 2-0 in favor of LAFC. And I even was gonna plan to write, yeah, this game is over. And I know the Rapids has had some late heroics before, but LAFC don't blow big leads often. I mean, well, I say that they did blow a 2-0 lead in the Leeds Cup last year, and there is that big game choker label that LAFC kind of are still trying to shake it off because that's is a narrative that they still have fresh in mind. I think that narrative is usually aligned with Cup final. No, so when it comes to these games, they usually they don't blow leads whatsoever. But we do head to halftime with LAFC leading 2-0, and in the second half, LAFC was making sure they're not blowing this 2-0 lead because once again they're on the front foot. Bogusz puts it wide from close before Stefan denied Atuesta as the flag went up. Stefan then denied Giroud from close range. It was all LAFC up to this point, and again, I just had a feeling that not only LAFC is not going to blow this lead, but this third goal is coming. Like once this third goes in, it is pretty much all done. Bawanga which hits one into the stands before Giroud puts it high from long range in the 54th minute. Colorado was just stuck in their own half. They were just under siege of this endless pressure that LAFC attack was being in. Bawanga then missed an absolute sitter from close range in the 54th minute, but then 5 minutes later he makes up for it. He scored here from Holland's head to make it 3-0 in favor of LAFC. Just a typical lightning counter attack from LAFC. I mean, if there is a goal that is very LAFC like in terms of the Leeds Cup, that's the goal. It is. They've been doing this throughout this whole tournament. Nobody can stop it whatsoever. And yeah, just like that, it's 3-0. Pretty much game done and dusted. And I think Chris Armas knows it too. He clearly waved the white flag. The starters were being pulled. Some of the reserve, of course, are being put in. Again, it's also important that I think up to this point, Chris Armas realized that, yeah, the final's not going to happen. Now let's just rest some of our guys so that now we prepare for that third place match against the Union where there could be a chance that they can still have another shot of getting back into the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And then there was a penalty that was given to LAFC, but then it was chopped off because VAR deemed that Vines did not foul O'Brien in the box, although I don't know about that. I mean, I that looked like it was a high boot there. Definitely connected O'Brien in the box, but apparently VAR sees otherwise. So yeah, again, probably that should have been a penalty for LAFC, but again, VAR uh things otherwise. I mean, it doesn't really have too much big implication in the game because the game was already out of reach up to this point. Stefan then denied Giroud from close after just another great counter attack from LAFC. You can tell Olivier Giroud want to score a goal for LAFC, and why not? I mean, he's definitely that big marquee signing in the summer, and you know he's going to eventually get his goal in this one. But one guy that also come to this LAFC team in the summer that did score a goal is Lewis O'Brien. So he scored here in the 75th minute. It actually took a deflection for his first career goal for LAFC, but he wouldn't care. It was 4-0 up to this point. By the way, the shots were 24-7 for LAFC. They were absolutely dominating the second half and making sure, yeah, there was no choke job in these big games that LAFC was going to have in this Leeds Cup semifinal. Stefan then denied Oliveira from long range, and yeah, in the end, LAFC they cruised their way to the final of the Leeds Cup. 4-0 win against Colorado. The shots in this one, 20 shots for the 10 that the Rapids had, 3 shots on goal for the 10 that LAFC had, 2 shots off target for the 7 that LAFC had, 6 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Colorado has, and possession-wise, 47% possession compared to 53% possession that Colorado has in this game. And at point of this game, the broadcast actually showed that LAFC is 6-0-0 against the Colorado Rapids at Bank of California Stadium, that is now known as BMO Stadium. I'm basically gonna still mention the old name because again, it opened as Bank of California Stadium. I know it's called BMO Stadium right now, but yeah, they not only are undefeated against the Rapids, but they won all 6 meetings against the Rapids, and it hasn't even been close whatsoever. Like they have scored 26 goals in the 6 meeting against the Rapids. They outscored the Rapids 26-2 in all 6 of their meeting against the Rapids. So yeah, safe to say that while Colorado has had an incredible run, and obviously I think Chris Armas and this team, they should hold their head high and, in terms of the great Cinderella run that they had, but this was probably possibly one of the worst opponent that they could face, an opponent that not only just owned them, they pretty much they pretty much are proper. LAFC have made Colorado their property with the way that they have just completely blow them apart game after game whenever they play in LA. And that again, as the old saying goes, all Cinderella run has to come to an end. It all struck midnight. It definitely struck midnight for Colorado, and it's also another example of the fact that in MLS, every feel good story doesn't usually ends up have a happy ending, and especially these teams that are heavy favorites and are the more superior side like LAFC. They don't care about feel good story. I mean, they ended Houston feel good story when in the Western Conference Final, and they did it again, ending Colorado feel good story, and now we're getting ready to get some revenge against Columbus in the Leeds Cup final on Sunday. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at these 2 games. As I mentioned, the final is going to be on Sunday. Before that, we also have the third place match, which normally a third place match seems meaningless, but that is for the third and final CONCACAF Champions Cup spot that you can get via the Leeds Cup. So that's going to be interesting to see who will get it between the Union and the Rapids. But yeah, let's hope it's going to be a good game between Columbus versus LAFC. I'm assuming it's going to be a good one. I'm not going to think that it's going to be 5-1 like what we saw a couple of weeks ago. I'm pretty sure LAFC is ready to take down the giant that is Columbus. I will say that Columbus, I think, is still the favorites coming into that game because they have the home crowd, and lower.com field is basically a house of pain for every opposition. And I think they even mentioned in the last game against NYCFC, they've only lost twice ever since lower.com field opened back in 2022. This is a team that basically treat lower.com field like it's an absolute fortress. And while LAFC has pretty much been breezing through this tournament, I mean, I can't even remember last time LAFC actually had a hard game throughout the knockout round so far. Like the only tough game that they had was against Vancouver when they were down 2-0, but they still were able to overcome that 2-0 deficit to get a 2-2 draw. Now they did lose in the PK shot, but it didn't really matter for them because that was a game that they got that draw so that they can of course move on into the next round. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting to see these two teams face off against each other, and I know that might not be a matchup that a lot of people want to see, and also a matchup that maybe people are starting getting tired to see. It should still be a very good matchup between both of these teams on Sunday. But that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.